Hey there! Welcome to Exposing the Hidden Reality. I'm Annette, career reinvention coach and caffeine-powered human.
And I'm Sandra, women's life and leadership coach. I bring the woo to our conversations.
And this is the podcast where we call out all the unspoken stuff, biases, outdated expectations, and all the things women navigate in work and in life.
Yes. We bring to light what we see happening. Smart, capable women stuck in the same patterns because no one really talks about what's going on.
We'll bring some difficult truths.
Welcome, insightful experts.
And sprinkle in a little chaos and fun.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't, right?
True.
So whether you're walking the dog or tuning in during your commute, we're glad you're here. Let's do this.
Let's do this. You want to do the let's do this together? Like 3, 2, 1, let's do this. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. Good morning, Lorraine.
Good morning.
And Sandra, morning to you, my friend.
Good morning.
We are very excited to welcome Lorraine. She is somebody that is in our immediate circle, and she has a big event coming up next week. So I'm going to turn the tables over to you, Lorraine, and let you introduce yourself and talk about what's going on.
Okay. Well, first of all, Annette and Sandra, thank you so much for inviting me on Exposing the Hidden Reality. I watch you guys, as I said before we started, usually on replay. But I love what you're doing. I think it's so great. The conversations are just gold. So I'm honored and excited to be here with you. So who am I? I have an agency that I started in 2013 called Prosper for Purpose. And we believe that by putting forward your purpose, you can make a positive impact in the world while still making a life for yourself, which means making good money. So what I tell people is that we turn individuals and organizations into category of one brands.
I love that. And how does that purpose that you have for your business and that vision, how does that come to be that you've been organizing these Women's Entrepreneurship Day events for years now?
Thank you. Well, I think that what I have found out about myself is at my core essence, I am drawn to practice radical generosity, and I am driven by the power of connection and human contact. And back in 2017, a colleague of mine who has a PR agency in another city, another state, was talking about this event that she ran. And I reached out and I said, this sounds amazing. Tell me more. And she said, well, actually, it was started in New York at the United Nations, blah, blah, blah. She said, you should check it out. And so I literally flew to the United Nations and went to this event. Turns out the woman that started Women's Entrepreneurship Day in 2013, I think it was the same year I started my business. So this is 4 years later, I'm showing up at the UN. Her name is Wendy Diamond, and she grew up in Chagrin Falls here in Northeast Ohio. And she is more energetic and more positive than probably anyone I have ever met. And she said, oh my gosh, you're from Cleveland. I've wanted this event to be in Cleveland. And that's kind of, like her exuberance is contagious. And she wanted me to bring it here. And so I left there knowing two things. One, I 100% was in. And number two, it wasn't going to be the event that's in New York. And I just really took away that every city, every state, has its own flavor. So I wanted to figure out what that looked like here. And each year, as you guys know, I've kind of reinvented the event based on a lot of it is just intuition. What I'm seeing in the market, what I'm seeing people talking about on social. I'm a good listener. I'm not as active on all the platforms, but I listen, and I just really love doing this. So I am the Ohio ambassador for Women's Entrepreneurship Day. It is a volunteer position. And my goal with the event is not to make money, which I think is kind of counterintuitive.
Mm. I don't think that's counterintuitive. I think bringing women together for a common connection and purpose is a very good thing to do. And um, sometimes events like that don't always turn into a profit scenario. I attended an event a couple weeks ago, and what did she call herself? She called it the non-profitable nonprofit. So the goal, right? The goal was to get the message out there, get people connected. It was a great event, like yours
Yeah.
always is. Um, but that was also her goal too. I should probably connect you to her.
Thanks
And
for thinking that. Yes.
they did a really good event, and I walked away with so many connections, so many ideas. Like my head was just like buzzing for days afterwards. So that's a really great purpose, I think.
I love that. And, the nice thing is that any money that we're bringing in, so as ticket sales come in, we're looking at who can we provide a scholarship to. So I have women reach out to me that are in startup stage, or they have life situations where they cannot afford to purchase a ticket, but they would really benefit from being in the room. We also have college students. We've had high school students that come. And so when people purchase tickets, this is what they're making possible.
I love that.
Mhm.
Maybe talk a little bit about why it's so important right now for small businesses and particularly small businesses that are women owned or women led.
Right. So we know that the fastest group of entrepreneurs is women. And there, as of a couple years ago, it was women 50 plus, and now we're seeing a growth in the 30 somethings as well. But I really think it's interesting because on both ends of that, like women that are leaving corporate to start their own business, they have their corporate connections, right? But they don't have that rich network of other entrepreneurs. And the same thing with younger people. They may start a business after one or two jobs and think, I just have this burning in my heart. And they don't have those networks. So I think what's so important is, and women have a different nature about them than men. I love men, but the energy is different, right? And I think it's really important for women as they're starting their businesses, but also scaling, to have other women who are doing the same thing. And if we can bring them together in an arena, a space that is non-competitive, that is nurturing and supportive, we all grow. The same tide lifts all ships. And I think women crave that and need that in a way that men maybe don't. And we also know that women get less funding than men. A lot of us bootstrapped our own businesses, didn't even want to look into funding. I know that was the case with me. And so I just think that being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner, it can be very lonely. I have a team, and I love my team, but they're not in it the same way that I'm in it. I need other people who are running their businesses to kind of run ideas by.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We spoke but a couple of months ago with Tina Wright, who invented the heel sling and she was talking about how difficult it was to take an idea to an investment firm, a venture capital firm, to get funding, because a lot of the people that you're presenting to are men and don't have the same experiences as women do. And this was a product that, keeps your foot inside your shoe, a problem
Mhm,
that women experience. But the man
mhm,
that she was pitching it to didn't understand the problem as well. So he didn't think that it was something that was viable. But he brought his boss in, who was a female, and she was like, "Oh my God, I need this." And and I think it speaks to what you're talking about in terms of capital funding for women and some of the challenges that we have in either presenting to a male audience an issue that is specific to women, or even getting an understanding of what it is that we're trying to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that women can learn from other women. So, if you are really nice and really kind and really warm, there are circles where that makes you appear weak
Mm,
and not strong. And, it's just really interesting as we move forward. Look, I have a communications background, but I didn't learn this stuff, right? It's kind of trial by fire, or baptism by fire, we say, and you learn. And so, the first rule of communications is know your audience, but that can be really hard. Sometimes you feel like you're, a round peg trying to fit into a square hole.
yeah.
Yes.
For sure. And I think being around other women who are there to collaborate and not compete, and who are
Yes.
there to share honestly, like, this was a challenge that I had, and I don't care if it makes me look inexperienced, or nobody's faking it till they make it.
Yeah.
Really gives you that ability to settle in and say, okay, this is going to be really weird, really uncomfortable, but I think I can do it because I have all these other examples to look at, and they're doing it right alongside me.
And that's why it's so important for us not to present the picture perfect vision of a small business owner.
Yeah.
And I've been, more and more telling my story. You also have to have distance from your story, right? But I've told some of my hard stories, my darkest hours in the nearly 13 years of running Prosper for Purpose. And, what I've realized is people need to hear that. They don't want
Mhm.
it to look, if you always present this, this is what I do, this is who I am, and it was so easy for me, you do your sisters in arms a disservice, because it's not easy. And who knows how many people just give up if they say, well, everybody else in my space, it must have come so easy to them, I don't have what it takes. No, you have to share what you went through, the mistakes that you made, the people that you trusted that you shouldn't have trusted.
Oh,
Start Yeah, we could do a whole one on that, let me tell you.
Future
Yeah,
episode idea. We'll totally give you credit, Lorraine.
yeah, well, yeah, so that's a whole other one. Like, unfortunately, it's not our success that teaches us.
No.
It's the things that go wrong, and I'm not gonna call them failures unless you wanna frame them as first attempt in learning, which I love. But that's what teaches us, our missteps, the people that we trusted that we shouldn't have, the things that we thought would be a no-brainer that we didn't test properly. Those are the things we really need to be talking about.
mm.
Mhm.
I'm so resonating with this because I'm in a phase right now, and it is just really honestly a little phase. Um, but I'm in this place right now where I'm doing a really good job of beating myself up about decisions I made, right? That didn't pan out the way that I wanted them to. And I'm often amazed when I share that and somebody says, yeah, but if you hadn't done that, this, and this wouldn't have happened. And, you gave this and this other thing, and this happened because you did those things. And I was like, yeah, okay. So it's fun to see it from other people's perspective, and it's validation that I do often end up beating myself up, um, when really it's important to look at it from different perspectives, not just the one that you're fixated on.
Yeah, I love that. And I will also say, I do, as I said in my intro, personal and business branding and nonprofit branding. So I brand organizations and individuals. And when I work with individuals who are their business and they're trying to build their brand authority and their brand online, we have to dig into who they are and what they believe and what they stand for. And it's really hard for them. That's the part that's hard to get through. But when you can do that and you can show up as your true self, that's when you build connection with people. right? And so, they go from, oh, this feels uncomfortable to, wow, I'm standing in my truth. I'm standing in my power. This feels so good because you know what? The weight of trying to keep that in only hurts you,
Mm.
right? It doesn't help you. And then your brand doesn't feel true, not to you and not to the outside world. So you've got to embrace the messy.
It's so hard. I mean, we've
Yes.
had that conversation off stage with so many of our guests this season, right?
Mhm.
And we're showing up messy backstage, right? Like we were before we hit the go live button, and it's amazing. My my child is ill today, so they're home.
Mhm.
I didn't have time to sleep last night. Or I got up at 5:30 this morning, and, I'm putting on my makeup as we're like getting ready to go live. Like it's all of those things. And we think that that is the messy side of life, but that's the everyday side of life. It's
Mm.
who we are, and showing up authentically, as you said, is such a powerful example to all those around us.
I love that. I love that you said that. So my dogs have fall allergies, and this morning my dog woke me up at 4 a.m. because she was just so itchy. And so I did this whole routine, and then I tried to go back to bed for a while. That didn't really work. And it's like, okay, so today, this is my day, and we're just going to power through, right? And that's the reality. Like we're showing up here, and hopefully we look like we took some time with ourselves this morning. But we all know, and I love your hair. I love your hair. It looks good. I don't know that I'd let you cut mine, but yours looks great.
It does look really cute.
Curly hair is a challenge. It's such a challenge. So, yeah, so I love that you said that because, people do see you, the quote is Instagram perfect.
Right.
And you really want to talk about, and not just the failures and the messy stuff, but just like the day to day. Like I'm going to an event tomorrow, and my event's next week, and I'm working on my book, and I'm producing a weekly podcast, and there's just a lot. And there's days where I'm like, okay, I need to take a deep breath, say a
Mhm.
prayer, and just keep on going. I don't need to look at the whole road. I just need to look at the next couple of steps.
Mm. Yes, that is so true. And I also think there's some benefit in saying that for those of us that left corporate America, and some of our sisters are still in corporate America, but that's what I'm seeing my clients crave is
Mm,
the flexibility and the authenticity. So maybe it isn't bad that the pups woke you up at 4 a.m. I mean, it's not ideal, but you also have the freedom in your life to now respond the way you'd want to. You don't have
yes.
to rush, get out the door, drive 45 minutes to the office, be perfect, be on point for every single meeting, right? There's hopefully little breaks you can build into your day so you can still be productive and still be good at what you do, but not be so exhausted from
So
the
that,
corporate burnout.
yeah, that reminds me of a story. And I will tell you off camera who it
Mhm.
was, but it was
Okay.
when you and I worked at the same corporate company. And I had a lovely team. Loved my team. As a matter of
Great.
fact, one of the members of my team started working in my business with me. She's been with me now for, almost 13 years. But so we, as you know, we scanned in, and they were watching to see what time people arrived, right?
Mhm.
And I was always there at least a half an hour before my team, and I would stay at least a half an hour after everyone left. But this person ran into my office. It was like it wasn't even 8:40. I think we had to be there at 8:30. And she slammed the door, and she leaned against the door, and she was in tears. And something had happened. I think her son forgot his lunchbox. It was something like that. And so
Yeah.
she'd had to turn around, go back home, get him his lunchbox. And she was worried that she was going to be written up for being 5 minutes late.
Mm.
And, in that moment, I thought, Well, first of all, I knew she wasn't going to be, right? And as, as her supervisors, like, I won't let this happen, but it's not going to happen anyway. Like, that's so ridiculous to be in that kind of emotional state over
Yes.
something that should not be a big deal to begin with. Just really, it's something that stayed with me, like over 15 years later.
Yeah.
No one should have to experience that.
No. No, and a
And yet
return to
others,
office is really hard for people right now. It's kind of the equivalent stressor that's happening right here and now. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Sandra.
I was just going to say, moms face that all the time, right?
Yeah.
I remember, and I should state that the school nurse that I'm about to mention is actually one of my neighbors. But I got
High
a
school
phone.
nurse neighbor.
I got a phone call one day as I was driving to the office, um, letting me know that one of my children, who was in elementary school, was not feeling well. And my question to the nurse was, "Do you think we could just like send her back until like lunchtime and I'll come and get her after lunch?" Because I had this big meeting, right? I
Oh, yeah.
had some things that I had to do that morning, and I just thought, I can't leave. And like, how horrible is that? That your daughter, or, oops, I guess I revealed who it was, that your child is like
Yeah.
upset and wanting to come home and
Yeah.
not feeling well, and they're young. I mean, this was elementary school, so it's not like, we're talking about university, like admissions are going to be impacted by this, right? Their
Right.
whole career life is going to be impacted
When
by
it
the fact,
all went to whatever. By the
right?
time my mom didn't pick me up from the nurse's
I
office.
know, how horrible. She just gave me some Tylenol and sent me back to the classroom.
But isn't that terrible that you have that? That's the choice that you had to make, right?
Yes.
And so now that you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, Lorraine's an entrepreneur, we have more flexibility to drop things, notify people and say, listen, I'm sorry this came up. And then people understand that more when you are the brand. So I think it gives us a little bit of an extension of trust with people that when you're in a corporate job, I didn't always feel like I had. Some people wouldn't say, oh, Annette has this going on in her life. They would say, how come this person isn't at their job today? So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
weren't a real person always. You were your title, or you were an office, and it
Yeah.
feels much better to be a person.
It does. And I do want to say that there are work environments that enable you to
Definitely.
be that. I certainly cultivated one the years that we had an office building.
Yeah.
And my people knew, like, I had some radical ideas about managing a team. And so they could take off whenever they wanted, as long as they were there for all the important things. You need a
Yeah.
vacation day? I mean, people would call and say, I need a mental health day, or I'm feeling like I'm just exhausted. Okay. Okay. Or, I'm going to be late. You don't owe me an explanation, right? Now, if you're late for an important meeting, that's a whole different story. But I know when I went through 10,000 small businesses, which I highly recommend, great, great opportunity. The people in my cohort, like, their jaws dropped when we got to the point where we were talking about and they're like, how do you do that? And I said, well, a company with 50 employees probably couldn't do that, but maybe they could. I'm sure there's examples out there, but I had a team of, I think, 9 at the time. And I said, I always believe that if there's a problem, it is not the policy, it is the person. And so if you can build the kind of company that you would have wanted to work at,
Mhm.
that's true leadership to me.
Yeah. I think that's gorgeous. So beautiful. And I think it can be done. Um, and I remember being in corporate America and trying to run my own little pocket of a team, in that manner.
Ditto. Yes.
And so it can be done, but yes, it would be very refreshing if it was done at like a bigger corporate level. And if we could lead like that all the time, regardless of where we were at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what people can expect next week when they come to the Women's Entrepreneurship Day event.
Yeah, so we call it WED Ohio. It's actually now Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, and our event is the Ohio Summit, but that's kind of a mouthful, right? um, so
It does not fit on our Canva like label, just so
Yeah.
we're clear.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, got it. So what they can expect is a deep dive into conversations that matter, I believe. And so we're gonna bookend. We're gonna talk about both kinds of AI. So Amy Newman is giving our morning keynote, and she's a powerhouse. And I've been on panels with her before. She is very brilliant and very kind, and she's going to talk about how we think of AI, right? And so artificial intelligence, how you can make that work for you as a woman entrepreneur. I will also throw in here that men are the early adopters of AI. We need to get more women. You know, we've been taught that we're not good at math and technology, math, science, and technology. And I call BS on that. So I'm an early adopter of most kinds of technology. I test it. And then if I like what I'm learning, I share it with my clients. If I don't like it and I'm moving on, I don't mention it. But we're using AI now for systems and processes, and I use it for editing. So I don't use AI to write my copy. I use it to edit my copy. So Amy's going to be talking about AI from that from artificial intelligence. Then Megan Buchter, who is at the Fowler Center for, I'm gonna butcher this every time, but she is at the Fowler Center for Business as an Agent of World Benefit. So I have been a mentor to some of her students, and she works with a different kind of AI, and that's appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry is almost, I don't know if I should say this in front of Megan, but it reminds me of positive psychology. Let's not focus on what's not working and spend 80% of our time there. Let's spend our time on what is working. And so that's kind of the idea behind appreciative inquiry. So we're going to take her instruction and we're going to be breaking out into tables where discussions will happen. And Annette, you're facilitating one of those conversations. Do you want to talk? Now I'm interviewing you. Do you want to talk about the discussion that you'll be leading at Women's Entrepreneurship Day?
Yeah, I'll be talking a little bit about what's holding you back and how to break through into that next thing that you're thinking about that is probably so big you might not have even spoken it out loud yet. And helping people find a way and a path forward so that they can do that thing and get it out of their head and get it into the world.
That's so great. I'm leading a table as well, so I realize I'm not going to be able to hear else's discussion, but I feel like I want to interview each person afterward. Simone McNitt will be talking about finding the right people. So from clients to collaborators, building your team for people that are ready to scale. Heather Heckler, who I know was here a minute ago, she's going to be talking about modern connection, and we're calling that Beyond the Coffee Chat. So, you know, you have a virtual coffee with someone or you have an in-person coffee with someone, and it's like, so what do you do? How did you get started? And, you know, if for some reason you have this deep connection right off the bat, you might go deeper, but usually those initial conversations don't go very deep. And so she's going to take us deeper into that from her experience guiding women through life's transitions. And so Heather is a warm and generous person. I can't wait for that conversation as well. Bonnie Miller Lads is going to be, she is a counselor. She is also very sensitive, but she's going to be helping people redefine risk and reward, which I think is going to go really well with yours, Annette. So like bringing those bold ideas forward and then also having the grit to bring them into the world, overcoming your overwhelm and burnout and how to deal with that while bringing great new visions to the world. And then Danielle Locke is going to be talking about the business of impact. And she's going to be also leading a panel in the afternoon with nonprofit leaders. And then I'll be talking about visibility and credibility. So for people that are either building or scaling, you need to keep also increasing your influence. And so how do you do that? There's proven methodologies. I have a very human focused approach. And so there are I believe, 6 roundtables, and then Amy will be holding space for people that want to talk to her about AI. And the women there will be able to attend 3 of them. So unfortunately, you won't be able to go to every single one, but you can choose 3 of the 6 to 7 and decide what's most important to you now. And then you can always connect outside of the event with the women leading the other discussions.
I love that. Yeah, I was at that event I was telling you about a few weeks ago, and I was attending an AI panel.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I won a copy of Amy's book because I thought I
Oh,
asked really good, insightful questions. So I'm so excited. I'm going to bring it. Maybe she'll sign it for me.
Oh,
when I'm
she'll
there.
totally sign it for
Okay.
you. Yeah, I'm committing you. That's so good. Oh my
It
God.
was really, really good. I was pretty excited about it. I'm like, I know her.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. Yeah, so Women's Entrepreneurship Day is going to have more of a workshop format. And so what I'm telling everyone is you're going to walk away with new connections that you didn't just have that kind of little coffee conversation with, but you're talking about topics that we all care about in our business, right? And we're going to practice radical generosity and tell other people at our table what has worked for us and let them choose what they want to take away from it, right? Because again, you can't take it with you. And so this became my theme, I don't know, like 5 years ago. Like I need to no, probably 3 years ago. What's my legacy? I can't take, I've been working for 4 decades. Like what? I can't take this with me. So I need to give it away. And that's why I started my podcast so that I could just teach.
Yeah.
I know we had this conversation this summer that I've listened to your podcast and had some big light bulb moments around authenticity, around truth telling, about just being idea leader, right? And just talking
Right.
about what's really important. Such good stuff in your podcast.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I also want to echo what you're saying in terms of spending the day and having some really deep connections. Last year, I met Dana, and Dana was going through a shift. And, she really struck me as somebody who had a real passion and who was so vulnerable and authentic during the conversations.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her and I friended her. And, we don't talk often, but we made a really strong connection. And I didn't know her before the event last year. So I think, this type of conversation where we can open ourselves up and really share and be authentic and vulnerable with others is so powerful at building our networks, knowing who to connect people with, and just being of service. So thank you for doing this.
I love that. Unfortunately, Dana can't make it this year. I'm kind of heartbroken, but there will be other Danas at the event. And
Yes.
if it's okay, I can throw out there my podcast is called Brand for Good, and you can find it on your favorite podcast app. We talk about building a brand for good from 2 perspectives, right? One is that if you build your brand, your core, your essence around who you truly are, that whatever you decide to do, your brand will go with you. So I started as an agency, and now I'm doing teaching. I launched a program. I'm going to be launching something else in November. And Prosper for Purpose, it could mean a variety of things, right? But it's what I care about. And then the other side of that is building a brand that helps you make a positive impact in the world. So brand for good, brand for positive impact. And so I love interviewing people. I love sharing my stories, how I'm helping clients in real time. And it's part of this, right? It's part of holding space and sharing what you know so that other people can benefit.
And it's interesting because as women, I think we're discouraged from seeking to be more powerful, seeking to make more money, seeking to have a bigger impact. And the reality is we have to do those things. One, because then we can fund the things that matter to us, right?
Yes.
But also because it allows us to be of greater service in this world. We tend to think of money as, something that is greedy, but the reality is it's energy, and it allows your energy to enter the world, and for it to fund the things that are important, for the causes that you're supporting. So I think it's really important.
I love that. And just to PS that, we know that women reinvest their earnings into family and community at a much higher rate than men do. And again, this is not dissing men, but this is how, women invest with what they care about, whereas men tend to invest, and this is proven, in things that they think will make them more money. Now, women could be a little bit more like men, and men could be a little bit more like women, because there's room for both. Because when you do earn more, you can have a greater impact. But that's the reality, that women are directly investing in their communities and their families. And that's why women need to earn more and be able to grow their businesses.
Yes.
So very true.
So, Lorraine, what was the hardest thing for you as a businesswoman?
That I didn't know anything about business. So, I mean, let's just tell the, unvarnished truth. I started my agency, and I had never wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I got divorced when my girls were really little. I did a bunch of freelance work. I got to the point where I was overloaded with freelance work, but I loved it because I could work, 9 to noon in the morning, and then I worked 9 to midnight. So I worked 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then the weekends where the girls were with their father, I would work around the weekends. I was really into that, but I got to a point where I either needed to scale, and I was like, I don't know how to do that, or I get a job. And I got a job, and I worked for a number of years. And then I got to the point where just really had this calling inside of me to serve in a different way. I really loved corporate. I loved the think fast and move. I love that. That's how I am. But I really missed the soul that I found in working with nonprofits. And so I thought, well, what if I could start a business that had the heart of a nonprofit, but moved like a business? And so I decided that's what I was going to do. And it got off to a great start. I started with a partner, and how that worked was I said, I'm quitting this job that we were both working at the time. And she had left already, and she was working with another organization. And I said, I'm going to start my own thing. And she said, tell me. And I told her about it. And she said, I've always wanted to start my own company. And I said, I've never wanted to start my own company. It scares me. So we did it together. And within the first 6 months, we had well exceeded 6 figures. We were doing great, and everything went really well until, I think we both realized that we were both visionaries, and neither one of us really knew a whole lot about business. So I bought her out after 1 year. She started her own thing. And what that enabled me to do was, I call it niching, but it's just really more narrowly focusing on who I wanted to work with and how I wanted to work. And that was a game changer for me. It allowed me to scale more quickly and to focus. And then over the years, that kind of evolves as well. And I think I forgot your question at this point. It's like going back to the beginning of all of that. And I was like really present to that, the beginnings. Oh, I didn't know how to run a business. And so, yeah, so I was doing the best I could. But look, my background, I have a degree in journalism. My focus is PR. They don't teach you how to run an agency. There was no entrepreneurship course. And so I started reading books. I have bookcases of books. And eventually I found a coach, a business coach. And I worked with her for a few years. Then I moved on to another business coach. And I've now had 3 business coaches, 2 of whom I still work with in limited. Actually, the third one I did a little bit of work. The first one I did a little bit of work with recently. So I think that you need different people at different times. I also had a consulting CFO who taught me. I did a lot of forecasting at the company that I worked at with you, Annette, and really in all my jobs. But that was the biggest budget I ever had to forecast. It was massive. And I was like, okay, let's just see what works. And I found I was, for someone who doesn't math well in the real world, I was really good at forecasting. And so I became really good at forecasting in my business. And I just learned. So it's going on 13 years. There's still a lot I probably don't know, but I know enough at this point.
I love
So
that.
that was my big thing. Didn't know, what business? What? Can't I just do this thing I love for people that I want to serve?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think it's amazing. So talk a little bit about being a B Corp, and maybe that's a longer story for another day. But I am always so impressed with other women that are like certified women-owned businesses or certified B Corp, because there's a lot of work that goes behind that. But I know it supports your feeling to do good. So can you give us like maybe the Cliff Notes version?
Yeah, the Cliff Notes version is I named my company Prosper for Purpose. I had this vision. And a couple years in, I found out about benefit corporations. So benefit corporations, that's a government status, right? And so I called my my accountant and I said, I want to redo my business filing. I want to be a benefit corporation. And he said, Lorraine, they don't have those in Ohio. They do now, but they didn't then.
Okay.
And so about a year after that, I think, 2016 or 2015. So it was 2 years into my business. Sorry, doesn't matter. I found out about B Corps and I started reading, and it was like, I was so excited. I had goosebumps and broke out in a sweat at the same time. I was like, these are my people. Because what happened around 2015 is purpose became a buzzword. And everybody was talking about being purpose driven. And I thought, here I am in marketing saying I'm Prosper for Purpose, that we blend, the heart of a nonprofit with, business practices, even though I was still learning business. And I thought, in a world where people can say whatever they want, I want the certification to show that I'm not just talking the talk. And so I went through the certification. And the first time I did it, the average to get B Corp certified was 6 to 8 months. And we were certified in less than 3. So what that told me was that I'd set up my business to be a certain way. And I didn't have a big hill to climb. Now, since then, they changed the certification process, and it increases in difficulty every 3 years. And so now it does take me several months, more than 3, to recertify, which I have to do every 3 years. But basically, they look at how do you govern, how do you impact your community, how do you treat your workers, things like that. And you're graded on that. And you don't just say it, they verify. So it's not only what is the impact that I'm making, but the people I serve. So if I work with a nonprofit, how did they take what I did for them, and how many more lives were they able to impact? What were their numbers? And I think as business owners, this is something that we could all learn from, because if we're only looking as far as who we helped and not what did that make possible for them, then we're
Yes.
missing an important piece.
Yes.
It looks at the ripple effect.
Yes, 100%. That's a great way to put it.
I love that. So amazing.
I think it was the Kaiser Institute that did a report many years ago. I want to say it was back in 2010, maybe 2011, where they talked about what happens when you improve the life of a woman. You improve the entire community around her, right? So
Wow.
it's not just the one person, it's everything. You improve the kids, you improve the family, the community, the school system. It's incredible by just focusing on that one person, that one woman. And I think that we often forget that communities are where we live, where we lead, what we do. It's all done in community, and that as women, we're all leading, whether we have a business or not.
Yes.
Totally true. If you are a stay-at-home parent, and my cousin, who is a man, was the stay-at-home parent, and he volunteered at school, went to all the mothers' meetings, and those women were making an impact in their community, and he in that role was making an impact in his community. So never forget that whatever you do, you're leading. Someone's always watching, and you have no idea if a comment or a kind word that you gave to someone saved them from a bleak day, or sometimes even worse. Like, everybody wants to be seen and honored and treated with kindness, and we could use a little more of that right now.
Amen.
I agree. A little goes a long way in that area for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So as we're getting ready to close the conversation, what else do people need to know so that they can put it on their calendar, October 30th, and make it to WED Ohio? What do you want them to know?
Well, one thing I want them to know is I had a couple of moms reach out to me and say, I can't attend the whole day. I have to do school pickup. What if I left at noon? What if I left at 2? And I said, I don't care. This is for you. This is not about me. You show up when you can and leave when you have to. No matter what part of it you're there for, you will take something away from it. So anybody that has a difficult schedule, that has an important meeting in the morning or an important meeting in the afternoon, whatever your situation is, just join us if you feel called to join. Just go to wedohio.org, buy your ticket, and show up. We're happy to have you for as long as you can attend.
Show up.
Mm-hmm.
Show up. Meet Annette. Meet Lorraine. Meet Heather. Meet all the incredible women that are going to be there. Make some connections. Yes, show up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really life, right? At the end of the day, life is what you make it. So show up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lorraine. And Sandra and I will see you on next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
Agreed. That's a wrap on this episode of Exposing the Hidden Reality. If something hit home or made you snort laugh, tell us.
Seriously, we love hearing from you. Message us, tag us, or send us coffee. We love coffee.
And hey, leave a review. It helps more women find us and boosts our egos.
Which are like fragile, like suspiciously fragile.
True. All right, until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and if all else fails,
Blame the dog.
See you next time. Wait, did we stop recording?
No, we're still here. You have to push the red button.
Red button. Cool. Just eternal podcast.
Bye.
Bye.